What I do to try to keep alive in the snake. Okay, first thing I do when I come into the snake is as I'm sliding up and as I'm crawling up, I always check for cracks in the snake. Now, depending on how well the field is put together, sometimes you're going to see cracks in the snake, sometimes you won't. But always be really careful of cracks as you start crawling up towards the knuckles. Now, one of the best ways that I found of playing snake, I learned this from watching Glenn Takamoto on Excessive. Some of the other guys on Excessive, when they came to the field, I watched them how they played snake, and how I see that they do it is I notice that they do a thing which I call elbow to knee. Okay, what it is when they're holding their marker, their elbow is basically touching their knee when they're in the snake. So for instance, if they're here and they're looking down tape, they get their legs spread apart as far as they possibly can, their elbow touches their knee, and then what that allows them to do is put their tank right up against the the middle of their shoulder, and now they can come out and they're balanced, and also they can pop up and come inside. So get your legs as far apart as you can spread them to get a nice base, and put your elbow to your knee like this, and I think you'll find you'll be nice and balanced, and you're going to be able to, if you need to hold down the tape, or you're posting on the tape player, or your mirror in the snake, by having your elbow to your knee will allow you not only to stay low from your shots coming from the inside, but will also make it easier for you to hold down the tape. Now, I've had games where I've had to sit like this for almost 2 minutes holding down a tape, and if I couldn't think of any other way to keep the gun up. Laying in the prone position definitely doesn't work, but this way definitely works. And if somebody comes up to bunker me, and I hear them running up to bunker me, I'm in a nice balance and controlled position to where I can come up inside and shoot inside and get the trade. Something else to do when you're in snake is sometimes I'll use, like if I see cracks that are here in the snake, when I take a pod out and I reload, I'll take my pod and just stuff it in the crack there on the snake. I don't know if it's legal or not. I don't really care. I do it, and it works really well. So hopefully by playing snake, by picking up that tip of elbow to knee, you can practice this at your house by going elbow to knee. It should really help you when you're looking down the tape, and when you get the call to shoot inside. Elbow to knee works really, really well. Now, one of the other things of using the elbow to knee is that you can stay posted down the tape and keep putting the stream on, and you can still head check and look inside while you're still doing the elbow to knee and controlling your mirror player. So as you're shooting, you can still pop up real quick and come back down. And then when you get the call to shoot inside, you can pop up and shoot inside and then get back down again, and then come back to controlling your tape. Right. Another really cool advantage of using elbow to knee as opposed to sitting down like a catcher is that when you go to move, basically all you have to do is just kind of lunge your body forward with your knees. You just lunge your body forward and you can already begin the crawl. So by being elbow to knee, it makes it a lot easier when you go to move up. So as you're shooting, you can move very, very quickly, as opposed to some of the other ways that I've seen with your body twisted like this, or some of the other ways I've seen of playing snake. I'll show you something today called dead spot. And what dead spotting is when you put a bunker in between you and your opponent so that they can't hit you, so that you can run up. Now what you're going to see here, and I hope you can see this, is Brandon is all the way over in the corner of the field there, in the temple there. Okay, now say for instance I just came out of the snake. Okay, so let's say as I crawl up, I come out of the snake and I see Brandon, and he's all the way over there in that temple and he's shooting at me. Now there's a stand-up just to the left of him that I can use for cover. Now let's say for instance that as I come out of the snake, I see Brandon shooting at me. Okay, now what I can do is I can come over here, and as you can see, Brandon can't hit me. Now he's still there, and he probably knows that I'm moving up, but as I have my gun up walking towards him, he's still there. Okay, you can see he's still there, but because I'm using the stand-up as I'm walking up, he can't hit me. So that's kind of how dead spots work. That's kind of how dead. Now I can pop right out and he's right there. So that's how dead spots work on the field. There's a lot of them in X-Ball, especially when you're going up to close a game. you can use dead spots to kind of put a bunker between you and your opponent, so you can move right up on him without him seeing you. Okay, in a previous video when we talked about Superman sliding, I told you that when you move to the right, you always have the gun in your right hand, and when you move to the left, you always have the gun in your left hand. Now this is a tip straight out of Dynasty Dissected, which is a phenomenal DVD. If you're looking to get into tournament paintball, go buy Dynasty Dissected. That video, that DVD is awesome. But here's one of the tips that they shared in Dynasty Dissected, one of the 10,000 that they gave you, is that when you're going to get squared up, you always want, when you're shooting, you usually have your feet about, shoulder width apart. Put your gun up to the shoulder, and you want to put the back of the gun lined up with your nose, okay? So when you go and you're shooting with your right hand, the back of the gun is lined up to your nose. You go over to your left hand, the back of the gun is lined up to your nose, okay? Now I'll show this coming straight at you. Looking right at the camera, the back of the gun is lined up right up with my nose. When I go to the left hand, the back of the gun is lined up with my nose. Okay, now some bunkers you're going to have to exaggerate the tilt in more than others. One of them is the Dorito. Now one of the best ways that I've found to play Dorito, especially with my size, and if you're a smaller guy, this is going to work even better, is if you're coming in, and let's say for instance you're going to be staying here for a little while, or you're holding down a specific position, I almost get my knees up almost underneath the Dorito to try to get as close as I can to it. The Dorito, once you go about eye level on the Dorito, there's no cover at all. So with a Dorito, you need to get down as low as you possibly can. Now coming out to the right side, you need to severely tilt your gun in when you go to pop out on a Dorito. One of the easiest things to clip people is that they're thinking they're still behind a stand-up, so when they come out, their hopper is still popped up just like they would in a stand-up. Now with a stand-up, you would normally, this would be fine, your hopper would be covered, but with the Dorito, you can see how much taller this is. So with the Dorito, you really need to get your loader sticking out when you come out to snap, shoot, or battle. Now another thing I do, and this is one of the reasons why I recommend a 14-inch barrel, is that you can use the barrel to push against the bunker, so when you come out, you can use the barrel to kind of push into the bunker a little bit, and that's going to help give you just a little bit more cover, as opposed to coming out to here. You can press against it and then come out to about right there. So the barrel kind of goes around the curve of the bunker, and it's the same thing going over to the left side. Left side of the bunker, you really want to have it in your left hand and tilt that loader as far in as you possibly can when you're playing the Dorito. Now, one of the things with playing the Dorito, if you sit and your knees are bent for too long, your legs are going to start filling up with acid, and it's going to be impossible to move. So you don't want to stay in a Dorito for too long. Now one of the things that I'll do is, as I get ready to move, I'll have my gun up, I'm rolling, I'll get on my legs, and then I'll go and do a hip slide into another bunker. And that should help you when you're playing the Dorito. One of the things with the Doritos, you will get tons and tons of hopper hits. By really doing an extreme tilt in, you should be able to protect your loader a little bit better. This drill, I see so many teams, when they get off the board, they get off the ready, this is what I like to call the ready line, completely wrong. Now one of the ways I tell you is that in X-Ball, you need to have a minimum of at least 3 to 4 guns of shooting off the break or you're toast. Some teams, especially in the beginner, and sometimes even when you get into the novice level, maybe have 3 to 4 people off the break shooting. Now, one of the things that I recommend is, as you're coming over to the right-hand side, get as far out as you possibly can off to the edge of the board, and then this way you can almost look around the X and see what the other team is doing lining up from right here. And then when they say go, boom, you're off the board, you're running and gunning to your bunker, your gun is up. Now when laning, one of the things I got to tell you when you're laning is to always watch where you're going to be laning at. You're not going to make any shots towards your target if your gun is down or you're staring at the referees. Lock your eye on the lane that you're going to be laning at, so when you come off, you don't even have to worry about your gun. Now the same thing coming over here to the other side. Left side. Lining up like this, but then right when they say go, I'm off the board and running and shooting my lane. Same thing down here. I see so many people, they line up like this. That's retarded. Don't do that. Line up like this, so when they say go, boom, you're shooting going up to your bunker. Same thing on the